welcome MG Siegler to the Startup Grind. Here we go. MG, come on out.
That's good.
You don't belong here.
Yeah,
Okay.
nice.
What do you have in that bag? Is there something?
All kinds of, you never know when I'll have to stop and write something up really fast in the middle of our conversation.
Well,
Live blog it while we're on stage.
do it. Twitter, @StartupGrind. If you're not following us, please hashtag that. Let me give you a amazing introduction that I wrote myself.
Sure.
I'm quite proud of. MG Siegler, otherwise first name Maximus, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Grew up in Pepper Pike, Ohio. Anyone familiar? Okay, we're going to talk about Pepper Pike.
Yeah.
Attended the University of Michigan. Disowned family, friends.
I did, leaving Ohio to go there.
Yep. Went to LA and San Diego and worked for advertising agency. Worked for a film production studio.
Yep.
Run by Ben Stiller. 2007, secured a job at VentureBeat, and you worked there for a few years, and then started TechCrunch in 2009.
Yep.
Now you're programming director at AOL.
I am. I have no idea what that actually means.
What does
this
that
is
mean?
the first time I've been here. This really is. I had no idea where it was.
Did they card you? I mean, was it kind of...
I snuck in the back door.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have a secret pass or anything to get in here. I think we have desk space. I think. I know Arrington specifically has a desk like with his name on it. He's never going to do it.
Yeah.
So we'll be here again tomorrow though for TechCrunch having an event.
Yeah, tomorrow night, the same room, I think, actually.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Hugo says yes, so.
Yeah. All right.
That's us.
Sweet. Well, good that I got to know it then.
You are I'd say the main reporter for TechCrunch on companies like Google, Apple, Facebook. Single-handedly created the social success that Foursquare is. I think that's been attributed to you, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
So we're excited to have you. So I want to start. We want to start. We're going to get to all the interesting things you've been talking about in the last few weeks and months. But let's start with your family. Tell us a little bit about. We're going to get to Peppertown.
Like Oprah? Okay.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
More like James Lipton.
Okay.
But, so tell us a little bit about your family. Tell us what did your parents do? Where do they work? Tell us about your background. Tell us about your brothers and sisters.
Sure. My dad started a contracting company, or he didn't actually start it. My family, long ago, his grandfather started it, so he runs that, and he's run that my entire life. He's quasi-retired now, but still does that. Spends time between there and Florida. My mother has done various things, but was basically a house mom, raising me and my younger sister, who, interestingly enough, I went to Michigan, she went to Ohio State, so that was a very...
It's a good time for you right now.
Yeah. Well, right now, yeah, it hasn't been for the past several years, but yeah. So I have a younger sister. She went to Ohio State. She studied biology there. So she's pretty much absolutely no idea what I'm doing, and I have no idea what she's doing. I'm not even sure my parents really know what I'm doing. But
have you told them, or do they think like?
Oh yeah, they see my name every once in a while. I'll let them know if I'm going to be on TV or something, and they see that, and they're like, "Wow, he's on TV. I have no idea what he's talking about. That's great."
What? So tell us. Tell us a little bit about Pepper Pike. It's the hometown of James Garfield.
Yes.
Population 6,000, and it has some of the best. I'm led to believe we sent some reporters out there actually in conjunction with this, but I'm led to believe it has some of the best public schools in Ohio.
It does. The school I went to is very good. Was very good. I don't know about anymore, but Orange High School is called.
Sure.
It's a nice.
Oh, know it well.
It sounds like you're like the quickie thing, that iPad app. You're reading out the Wikipedia page.
Hopefully my voice doesn't sound like that.
Hello. Pepper Pike is good. It's a suburb of Cleveland, for those who don't know. It's like half an hour outside. It's near Beechwood or Shaker Heights, if you've heard of those bigger suburbs of Cleveland. It's a small, little, kind of a little bit ritzy town that's not at all like what you would think Cleveland is like, but it's a good place to grow up.
And so you went to U of M. What did you study? Did you study journalism? Did you study communication?
I was studying film there, actually.
Film.
Yeah, which led me to my next phase. But Yeah, I toyed around with what to do there. I really had no idea what I was going to study when I first went to school. I'd always had the same basic interests, which were technology, writing, and film. And so I kind of just went with the latter of there. But I almost went into engineering and did some other things. But at first, that seemed like I was going to have a totally different career than I have now. But it was exciting doing that.
Yeah. So have you always been a writer? I mean, have you?
Yeah.
Do you have like some sci-fi novels or something on a back shelf somewhere that are gonna?
No, I don't have that. I heard you said you're going to have Ben Parr here in a couple weeks
Yep.
or whatever for that evil other blog.
Yeah. Let's not talk about it.
But
suck.
he does that, I know.
Does he?
Yes, I think
they
on the
good?
side. I haven't read them. I don't
Okay.
know. But
Well, I will.
okay, you read them.
Between
read
now
up,
and then, I'll probably
read up
will.
on his background. But yeah, I mean, I had done writing. I wrote a little bit for the school newspaper at Michigan. Had always been more into, I guess, creative writing growing up, just because there was no real blogging at the time when I was a little kid. And I think I started blogging about the time that I moved to Los Angeles, so right when I was done with college. So that was 2004. And I had moved from Michigan to go to Los Angeles for film. I had a bunch of odds and end jobs, various things, everything from a PA, on-set PA,
Yeah.
doing all kinds of.
Well, what movies? Tropic Thunder or something? Or
No,
were you in those?
Oh,
movies?
I
No,
wish.
these were the movies in the production, right?
That was
after.
that was Ben
would've been
Stiller's
after.
production company, yes.
Yeah.
But I wish I would have been a PA on those movies. I was in like this movie called Officer Down. I did this thing.
Oh yeah.
It's
Classic.
basically it's a straight up B movie, straight to DVD. Casper Van Dien's in it, if you remember from Starship Troopers. That's about the only star I think that I could
Yeah,
name that
not resonating like
10%
Lady,
people
Lady
might know.
Gaga did
Yeah,
earlier,
right.
for sure.
Lady Gaga not in it. It was a very bare bones production, and yeah, I mean, I got to do some cool things there, and I got to really learn the industry from the absolute bottom up. I mean, it wasn't not doing porn or anything, but it was one step up, I'd say.
Yeah, well, if you did, you could tell us.
Yeah.
I mean, no judgments.
As a PA in a porn set, that'd be great.
Nice.
And yeah, so just moved throughout there. Did various other different jobs in Hollywood. Worked on Warner Brothers lot for a while as a kind of assistant to producer there, and then eventually worked my way up to working for Ben Stiller's company. And I was doing scripts there. That was always my thing. When I first got there, I was trying to decide what I wanted to do, but scripts eventually became the major thing.
Yeah. Were you writing like technical scripts, like Minority Report style stuff, or you were like what? I mean, when you say script writing, like what?
Right.
Give us an example.
Well, mainly I was doing script reading for them.
Reading.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
So I was, started off as an intern there, and basically just got every shitty script that came in would land on my desk, and I would have to read it and just pump out what's called coverage, which is basically like a book report about how bad the script is, and 99.9% of them are awful, really, really, really bad. I mean, if you think there are movies that get made, obviously, that you see that are awful, and just think that those are like the top 0.001% of the movies out there. I mean, there are some awful, awful things that don't get made.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was my job. I read those. Eventually, I worked my way up. So I got to be kind of like the last line of defense before Stiller and his people would actually read it. But so eventually, I got to read some good scripts. One script I read was Juno, actually, well
Okay.
before it came out. That won the Academy Award, of course. Diablo Cody wrote that. So there were some good things that came in, but again, 99.999% awful.
Yeah. And your goal in getting into film or studying it in college was to what? You want to make films? Did you want to write?
Yeah,
scripts, or what do you
when I came out to Los Angeles, I was kind of deciding that. I thought maybe producing for a little bit. Of course, it's all working your way up though to get up to that level to be able to do that and really paying your dues unless you have significant connections, which helps a lot. And I didn't have. So, but yeah, eventually writing just kind of zeroed in on that film and writing together.
Yeah. So tell us something you learned about working in LA.
I learned that I hate driving, which I really don't do anymore, but I was in my car all the time there. But overall, it's a really fascinating place to work, both good and bad. I don't know if it's more good or more bad, but it's close. Hollywood's interesting because it's not at all, people often try and compare it to what it's like out here, because because there is kind of this rock star atmosphere a little bit during the boom times, which we're in right now. That there are some rock star entrepreneurs out here, and of course now we have the Social Network one, Best Picture, so that's like the merging of the two. But it's really not at all like it on the behind the scenes thing. I'm sure there are some people who are like that, but generally there's so much waste going on. I mean, people spending $100,000 a night on various parties and hotel rooms that they really don't need to spend because they're making tens of millions of dollars every movie. So what the hell else are they going to spend that money on? But there's just, if Hollywood really wanted to buckle down, I mean, they could streamline the hell out of that industry and really kind of just blow away everything else in terms of profits that they make. But that's part of it. I mean, that's part of the allure of it, I think, is that there's really this majestic quality because everything's larger than life, and everyone's spending gobs of money on things they don't need and just living extravagant lifestyles. And that's thankfully that's not really the way it is out here. Again, there are exceptions to that, but for the most part, it's not like that.
So what? So you're in LA. You're working in the film industry. What do you think? What factors led to you ending up at VentureBeat? What changes did you make? What things were you improving on? I mean, how did that happen?
So there were a few different factors that came in. At the time, it was mostly about a girl, though.
Oh, wow. Sounds like a good movie.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like Good Will Hunting. It was, I was dating a girl for a long time at the time, not anymore, and she really hated LA. And she was a year behind me in school, so she graduated the year after I did. She went back home for a little bit and was trying to decide if she should come out to California, where I am, and she's back in Ohio, of course. And we eventually compromised, and she would not move to LA. I mean, maybe she would have if I really, really, really pushed it. But I was a little bit fed up with the stuff I was talking about, some of the BS going on in Hollywood, and I was okay with kind of taking some of the script stuff and moving somewhere else.
Yeah.
So we compromised and moved to San Diego. And for a little bit, I was doing a little bit of freelance script stuff down there. But then I also started to more pursue the tech stuff that I hadn't been doing for a long time, except as a hobby on the side.
Like what? What were you doing? Your
I
personal
ended
blog
up,
or something?
Yeah, I was doing that for a long time, but then I ended up going back to take some classes at UCSD and really learned web development. I just basic front end web development. I was doing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And eventually, I got a job at a web development firm down in San Diego. So,
do you need a job? Or are you looking for a little side work?
Yeah, I would like any
We've
freelance
got probably
projects.
a couple of free front end guys.
Yeah, I can make you a very nice GeoCities site, I'm sure. I don't know if I remember anything right now, but yeah. So I kind of morphed into that, and then the Hollywood stuff just faded away, and then that's what I was doing. While I was doing that stuff, blogging really started to take a hold, though. That's when I really started to get interested in kind of writing about technology because I was so immersed in it now on a daily basis.
So tell us about how you ended up at TechCrunch. You were at VentureBeat for 2 years.
Right.
How did you?
So I got to VentureBeat when I had the web development job down in San Diego, and I was blogging on the side. And I started blogging enough that people started to recognize my name because I would be bitching about things or whatever, just personal blogging, my thoughts.
That's changed though, right?
That hasn't changed
totally
at all.
Changed.
Well, I have a larger megaphone now, but that's about it. But so I a few posts got on like things like Tech Meme and stuff like that. And so one of the writers at VentureBeat at the time, Eric Eldon, who's of course still around. He works at Inside Networks now. And so he found me and just said, "Hey, would you be interested in contributing like for VentureBeat? We're based up here in Silicon Valley. I know you're down there, but maybe you can come up and meet the team or whatever." So I did, and eventually that just merged into a full-time thing. I mean, I just hit the ground running. I think.
Yeah.
Really.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so
so that to TechCrunch. I was there. I was at VentureBeat for a little over a year and a half, and just really doing a lot of content there, a whole hell of a lot of content. And of course, Arrington saw that and just said at one point. I mean, we must have had the discussion like 4 times. Hey, do you want to come work for me? And then he'd go off and run away to Hawaii or something for like 6 months, and I wouldn't hear from him again. And eventually, we got on the same page, and it was just like, yeah, let's why don't you come over here and work? And so I did.
Was it anything like Suge Knight, how he used to get
Right.
people involved?
He,
or was it 'cause
it's
that's
Mike was basically, I'm Vanilla Ice, and he's holding me over the
over the edge?
yeah, over the edge of the
Cool.
balcony. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, rumors are true in some cases. It's
Right.
good to know. So, okay, just straw poll. By the way, if you're looking for a seat, you're welcome to come sit in here, in the front. Or you can stand over here. There's a couple seats here. There's a couple seats here. Raise your hands, people in the room. Who reads VentureBeat on a, let's say weekly, let's say daily basis first. Daily basis? Okay, weekly basis? Okay, hands down. Who reads TechCrunch on a daily basis? What about weekly basis? Okay, so it seems like reasonably good move on your part. Talk about, 2009 you joined. Let's talk about how much harder it is today to get a story on TechCrunch than it was in 2009, or not. Is it, how have things changed and evolved since you first got there?
We're bigger than we were. I was looking at the stats the other day. I think we're about 3 times the size that we were back then even, which is good. That's what we were hoping for. Things are quite different now, of course, being under this lovely regime of the building we're in.
Tim has a camera, so it feeds right from his office right here. So,
but in terms of day-to-day coverage, it certainly helps that we have more writers now, but we also see a lot more. I mean, just every day there's more and more stuff coming in, and as I talked about, we're in a boom time right now, so there's just a massive flood of influx of different startups and different pitches and all kinds of different things coming in. So it's probably a little bit harder than it was in 2009 because we haven't ramped up hiring as quickly as the startup scene has grown. But it's still relatively doable, I would say.
Yeah. And new redesign. Let's just quickly address this. New redesign. Fans of the new redesign, raise your hand. Okay, 6 people.
All right, that's good.
Not fans of the, or let's do neutral. Neutral, redesign neutral. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Not fans of the redesign. Okay. Yeah, so a few days ago, I was looking at new TechCrunch, and my eyes literally started bleeding. I mean, this is, I don't know. I looked for like a place where I could submit this feedback.
Right.
I really actually enjoy the
If you just keep clicking the refresh button, we get the
your
feedback.
Stories.
Yeah,
right. This new site, I can't remember what it's called, but it shows like the old TechCrunch.
Yes,
you know what I'm talking about? They have like the Hacker News version of TechCrunch.
Yes, that was genius. I don't remember what it's called either, but yeah, they have the Hacker News version. They have a just simple streamlined version, the old version. It's really nice.
Yeah, so I mean the redesign probably has absolutely nothing to do with you. But
Right.
what has the feedback been? Have the page views increased? Has it been?
Yes,
what's
well,
been the
we
feedback?
certainly didn't gawker it, as we like
Yeah.
to say, which is good. Yeah, I mean the response generally has been, I think, what the audience say. Most people, I would say, are probably just don't really care either way, and that's kind of how I feel, to be honest about it. The one thing I do love is that it's significantly faster. We got rid of, we shoved kind of a lot of the sharing widgets, which is.
But wouldn't that increase the bleeding? Just make it faster, or no? The eye.
Of your eyes bleeding?
eyes,
Maybe
yeah.
a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, that's really all I care. I used to bitch nonstop, behind the scenes, just like, we got to get this faster. And I mean, I would get 4,000 pings, a month about how slow it was, and just like all those calls we were doing to all those different buttons. So anyway, we were able to do that. The overall design, it's growing on me. I like certain parts of it. I don't like other parts of it, but overall, I think it's a
You think it's
net
gonna stick?
positive. Yes, it's going to stick.
Yeah.
It's going to. I mean, that's what we're sticking with. So.
Yeah. So, future of blogging, print is dead, right? Or
Right.
so everyone says.
Right. Yeah.
What point does blogging die? Does it die, or does it evolve? Where's blogging going in 5 years from now?
I think it's slowly been evolving, and I think that will continue. Like maybe if someone had looked at it 5 years ago and then not looked at a blog again until like right now, they would see a massive change. But I think it's been more of a gradual change for all of us who've been very much immersed in it for the past 5 years. I think that it's it's slowly but surely moving right now, I would say, towards more sensational things, which, can be good and not so good. It depends. But I think that there are cycles that it goes through. I think that, right now, a lot of a certain kind of thing, like, Google SEO gaming and things like that are are really starting to take off, and people recognize that that's the way to get a lot of page views. At the same time, there's also a lot of blogs that are taking it very seriously and really competing with things like the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal that have existed forever, and doing a good job. And I like to include, TechCrunch does a little bit of both, I think, but I'd like to include us more in the part that does really competes well with New York Times and Wall Street Journal. I mean, the amount of news that breaks, the amount of tech news that breaks via TechCrunch, I think is amazing. I mean, there's no way to say that the most amount of news does not break on TechCrunch. Even when I think if you were to add almost all of the other sites together, I think that we do a good job breaking news.
I mean, I have to say about Mike Arrington, I mean, he breaks more exclusives, and he's right more than anybody else is in the tech world. I mean, say what you want about him, about what you heard or what you haven't heard, but I mean, the guy when he posts something, he doesn't lie, and you can go back and you can trace every single one of his posts, and almost all of them actually happened 2 or 3 months later. It's interesting to me to see, ever since he wrote, this was before your sale, but in Fast Company he wrote, or Fortune maybe, he wrote this article about his philosophy on blogging, and he specifically mentioned exclusives, right? And it's been interesting to see, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but all the other blogs, right, they've now, you see like, exclusive,
yes.
Not Mike Arrington's story,
right,
and
which I hate, but
yeah.
I mean, I don't hate that it's not Mike Arrington's story. I just hate the exclusive, just.
But that's part of. They, and there's stories about that. Do you guys? But you love exclusives, right? I mean, it helps you.
Oh
guys.
yeah, absolutely we love exclusives. I've kind of the mindset where if we have an exclusive, I don't have to yell in caps that we have an exclusive. Write your story well enough that everyone recognizes that this is an important story that is yours.
What was interesting, I saw Ben Parr, after you broke that story about the Facebook iPad app, I thought it was cool. He called you out for saying, hey, great. I mean, it was a great scoop, right? So, and you didn't, I don't remember if you wrote exclusive in all caps or not.
No, I didn't.
So, do you have, are you supposed to write about certain companies? Do you have free reign to write whatever you want? What is the structure with the writers? And specifically you.
It's different kind of across the board. I'm one of the senior people now, of course, so I have free reign to do what I want, which is good. And that partially came from me coming over from VentureBeat and already having an established name. Mike knows, he's very smart in that he realizes the best way that people work. He knows that I don't want someone in my face telling me what to do, and I don't really need any supervision. I'll just get it done, what I need to get done, when I need to get it done. That could be 5 in the morning, that could be 2 in the afternoon, that could be 8 in the morning. It really varies every day. It's just when the news is
do you have days
happening.
off? Because it seems like you post literally every day.
Not really. I mean, I've done a better job probably about the past year of taking maybe a weekend day off, but almost always, I'm working pretty much all the time. But I do that not because, Mike's like a taskmaster forcing us to do that. I really enjoy it. I mean, if there's something out there that's happening and it's interesting to me, I want to be the person who writes that. I don't want to be sitting back there and having to read it. I took time off last year and went to Japan for a couple weeks with my girlfriend, and I promised her that I wouldn't do any work when we were doing that. It was really the first time off I've taken in several years. And I was sitting there, and I wasn't supposed to be checking news or anything, but of course, if we walked into some place with Wi-Fi, I'd, pull out my phone and, oh, look what's going on in the world. Twitter bought X company and blah, 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 blah. And sitting there grinding my teeth just like.
I need to write about this.
Yeah.
Did you?
No, I didn't.
Good for you.
It's tough.
So the entrepreneur in me, this is looking at, well, actually, I want to ask you something first. So a lot of the people in this room, who in this room has secured funding? Raise your hand for your startup. Okay, so we have a couple. Most people have not. That's totally, I think, typical of our audience. I think, what? Does that mean I'm a startup loser? I'm not calling you guys out. We haven't. So, I'm not, that's not a rude comment on anybody, but just to say, people in here, including myself, would say, man, I wish MG would write about me.
Right.
But I think realistically, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, at this stage of where you're at in the TechCrunch hierarchy of people, the odds of you writing about a no-name startup who hasn't received funding, who doesn't get introduced, just a random email, what are the odds of that happening based on?
It's a great question. I mean, this is something that I think a lot of people want to know, definitely. I get asked a lot via the devil that is email and other mechanisms, but
we're getting to email.
Yeah, okay. The general thing has kind of evolved over the year. Like you said, my beats are now, as everyone probably is aware, Apple basically, and yeah, Google and a few other companies. But at the same time, I do really enjoy writing about startups and learning about new startups for sure. At the same time, there needs to be somewhat of a filter, or else it's just there's too much coming in to be able to really pinpoint something to write about and still do it in a timely fashion is really the key to that. So usually we use, I think all the writers do this. We have our own kind of social filters and personal introductions from someone that and say, hey, you should check out this company. They're really cool. They're doing, this and that. And here's what they've done. Occasionally there are things that come in. We definitely try to make sure some of the newer writers really dive into the TechCrunch tips, which is where a lot of the just kind of people who don't have a way to get to us come in and really try and pick out the best ones. And we don't do a good enough job of that, I don't think, right now. And we're trying to do a better job.
It's flooded with garbage too, right?
It is. It's really hard to go through those. But I think that we have a way to do a better job of that. And part of the redesign, actually, we haven't highlighted it enough yet because we're still working out the kinks of it. But we have a specific startup column because that's, of course, how TechCrunch started. It was Mike writing about these startups and just writing even just a paragraph about it to kind of point out what it is to people. And that's sort of almost what like Crunchbase is now in a way, where it's like just this influx of new companies and it has a little blurb about what they are. But so we have the startup column again on TechCrunch, and we hope to really populate that with companies that aren't the big companies and aren't even the bigger startup companies like Facebook and Twitter right now, which are still technically startups, I guess. But we hope to get some of the smaller guys, their say too, because that's really is the core of what TechCrunch has always been.
So I wanted to ask you about this is a personal theory, so this is wrong or crazy. Tell me shut up and we'll get off of it. But it seems to me I've lived in Silicon Valley for about 5 years. I'm originally from Tampa, Florida. And it seems to me that there's definitely this very much an in crowd in Silicon Valley. People like Kevin Rose, Joe Hewitt, Ev, Biz. I mean, hey, those. So, and another example I would give is I saw one time a Plancast party you went to.
Yeah.
This is really
watching the Plancast.
Yeah. Well, I follow you on Plancast. I get your updates.
Yeah.
And you went to this meeting, and I looked at it, and I looked at the people involved. There were 6 people. And among those 6 people, this is maybe 6 months ago, you had like 20,000 followers. But among the 6 people, there's like 130,000 followers on Twitter represented in one room, right?
Yeah.
So like when me and my friends get together, it's like 3 of them are blocked from spamming, and like,
right.
And so these other guys, they don't even have computers. So like I'm trying to understand, like, so a lot of people in this room would say, I would think, or myself would say, what does it take to get to that level? What does it take for you to write about me wearing a new sweater in a picture, like Dennis Crowley or something? I mean, how do those guys get there? Is it great products? Is it something special? What is it?
I think, I mean, first and foremost, it's definitely great products. If someone has something that really hits it out of the park, and they're, in a lot of cases, the people you mentioned are pretty charismatic, so they're also, good at doing events and speaking and getting up, and so they amass their followers that way. But the key really is having that at least one killer thing that you've done that really has inspired other people to do things, and I think that's really a snowball effect that helps these guys gather all these followers up. And I think that they in some ways this is maybe similar to the Hollywood situation where a lot of those people feel more comfortable hanging out with other people like that, because it's something that they have in common, certainly, and they also share a lot of the different. I don't want to say burdens because all those people are very successful.
Well, those sweaters are really hot.
Those sweaters are really hot. It's tough to be in Gap ads, but they have the burdens of living up to what everyone has built them up to.
Right.
I guess.
Totally. So I wanted to talk about Google and Apple a little bit. Google Plus, you've written extensively about it. Go watch MG's videos with Jason Kincaid, and there's lots of stuff on there. Amazing growth, right? Yeah. You compare it to FriendFeed a lot. Who do you think it impacts Facebook or Twitter more?
I think, well, to me it seems more akin to Facebook, but I know that some people use it in a similar way to Twitter. I mean, the truth is that they're all different products, of course, the boring truth. But You know, it's really an interesting thing right now. It started off really hot. I wrote a story the other day that really pissed Google off, saying it's not as hot right now.
The sophomore slump.
Yeah, the sophomore slump, right? And so as soon as we publish that, get 50 phone calls about why that's wrong and I'm an idiot and everything. We'll see. The best is on Google Plus, where it's just like this incestuous conversation about how Google Plus is awesome. No, I think it's more awesome. No, it's more awesome than you think it's awesome.
Where do these people come from? Are they just like, have they been hiding on Gmail just waiting to like voice their love for Google? Like, have they always existed? Now they have a platform? I mean, who are these?
I think, and I'm as guilty of this as anyone. I think when people discover a platform for the first time, be it Google Plus, be it Twitter in the early days, be it Facebook in the early days, be it FriendFeed, you kind of start identifying with that and that community a lot. And it's like, if someone says something negative about it, you're of course that's kind of in a way attacking a sliver of your identity that you've kind of attached to this. It's like, well, maybe it's not, maybe it's not so good. What the hell do you mean it's not so good? I spend 40 hours a day there. It's awesome. So I don't know. I mean, but
that guy's at our event for sure.
Yeah, he's out there somewhere. 40 hours a day. That's impressive. But I'm guilty of the same thing. I mean, like, I was one of the early FriendFeed users, which is why I compare it to it so much. And like, I love the hell out of that thing. I still love it. I mean, I wish that Facebook didn't buy them and kind of turned it into a non-existent zombie town. But it was totally awesome. Like, really, when it was first introduced.
What as you've used Facebook now, post Google Plus, like, when I use Facebook now, it feels like a very sad clown to me. Like, it feels like I can now see, like, I couldn't see it before, but now I can see 2005 in it when I first started using it in college.
Right.
And do you think Facebook is going to have to just make some huge? I mean, do you see that at all? Do you feel like it's that much further ahead in design or usability?
So this is another interesting thing because this is something else that I think fuels the Google Plus craze right now. Is that a lot of people are disenchanted by Facebook.
Yeah.
And some people by Twitter too, but more by Facebook, more users obviously. And so they're kind of like, well, I don't like Facebook anymore. So this is new and fresh, and it has different ideas. And I think that's empowering to some people, and it's also just a kind of a fresh take. And I think a lot of people find that appealing. That said, I don't think that Google Plus really challenges Facebook at all.
It's a completely different audience, right? I mean, the content's different.
Yes, and I mean, they have 750 million users, and at some point, it's already slowing down, of course, but at some point that has to stop growing because there's, unless they go to another planet, there's only so many billions of people on this planet. And the reality is that not everyone has a computer, of course, and in some other countries, they're not as fortunate as we are to be online all the times of all the day. And they're doing some smart things with mobile, of course, there to be able to access some of those other countries more. But I just don't see Google Plus really having an impact on Facebook overall. Maybe it has more of an impact on Twitter, which isn't as firmly cemented yet. Twitter's main problem is that they have a lot of users. They still really need to nail the user engagement factor. They need to get people coming back more, and of course, they really need to manage the business side of things. So and that's no slam dunk that they can do either of those.
Just open the floodgates.
Right. Facebook though is set as the business. The ads are growing insane. They're going to make so much money, and they're going to IPO next year, and they'll billions and billions of dollars, and they'll be fine. I don't see Google Plus really affecting that.
Have you seen? You've talked about this as well. Google Plus's rise in the traffic charts with TechCrunch.
Right.
Have you? It's like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you post a great article, you see Tech Meme, you see Hacker News, you might see a couple of some things from Twitter or Facebook, and now all of a sudden in the top 10 is Google Plus out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
So is that totally unprecedented? Is it? Do you think it's driven by Google? Do you think they're like playing with that, or do you think it's organic? What do you
No,
think?
I mean, I think that it's both unprecedented, and I think it's legit. They at first they made it a little hard to track those, but then they made it easier once they realized that it was good numbers. At first you had to kind of dig into google.com/ like P equals something, and find out what the referrer actually was. Now they just give you the plus.google.com so you can track it much easier, and the numbers are really impressive. Less now so this week than they were in the first week. They've been slowly dwindling over time, but they're still in the top 10 in terms of refers to TechCrunch itself. And I mean, I think that it has good viral effects, and the fact that they're Google and they start out with several 100 million users and they're
Yeah.
able to turn that into 10 plus million is, I don't think that's surprising.
This idea of them having, oh, we're scaling, we've got to, we can only do invites at the time at this time.
Right.
I mean, they've got 2 floors
Yeah.
of people, like 200 people working on this project.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Is this a marketing thing?
Yeah, that's
Is
total
it-
bullshit. They definitely, I would say, there is something to be said for doing it that way because
Yeah.
there are going to be little things that people hate that they just don't even think about because they've only done the internal dog fooding of it and testing of it. I think it's more for that than the scaling effect of it. I mean, they could definitely scale this thing to however many X millions of users that they want to have right now. But yes, it's a smart marketing strategy. They got everyone talking about it. But they did that for Google Wave too, and that didn't work out so well. So
Yeah. Is Apple the most valuable company in the world?
Exxon still is, but it's getting close. I think it's. I didn't look. I looked a few days ago.
I don't
and it
mean
was-
like. Do you think? Do you,
Oh, do I
mean,
think
it's
that
not.
they
I know
are?
it's not literally, but it's it's tracking
they're
that
getting
way.
close
that's
to being
getting there.
literally. I just saw a bunch of people wrote the story today that they have more money than the U.S. government does right now. They actually
Great.
have more cash than the U.S. government
That's
has
great.
On hand, which is awesome. Yeah, Apple can be the bank that bails out the U.S. government. Yes, I mean, yeah, totally. They're the most valuable company right now. They're the one that everyone is kind of racing to catch up with in terms of many of the things that they're doing in the different spaces, in mobile, in tablets. Not the one thing that has yet to be seen that we'll see, I guess, this fall is how they do with the cloud stuff, of course. iCloud's not out there yet. It sounds good. It sounds interesting in that it's supposed to be as simple as possible, which I think will be I think will be welcome to a lot of people who aren't so versed in how to do all this stuff, like my mom. But we'll see how that goes.
Do you think they have the chance to replace Dropbox? I mean, you talk about that thought about your mom. I mean, my sister just started using Dropbox. It was like, literally the fastest, easiest thing I've ever done.
Dropbox is awesome. I mean, I've been using it for several years now. It's I don't think that Apple will have a way to replace that. In that, I think that most people are still used to the Windows mindset, where we have the file system. I think it'll take Apple a long time if they're ever able to replace, which is what they're trying to do, replace the file system with just this automatically saved, automatically in the cloud when you need it and everything. You don't have to worry about dragging files. I think most people, though, are still coming at it, obviously, from the Windows perspective, where you have the file manager, and Dropbox does the really kick-ass job of doing that, where they just install the file right there, install the file directory right there, and you're just able to drag stuff into it.
Do you think in 10 years we'll still be clamoring for Apple products?
That's a good question. I mean,
Thank you.
it's it's a good, but it's a unanswerable question, so it's not that good. I mean,
That's messed up, dude.
there's a lot of variables that come into play there. The Steve Jobs variable is perhaps the biggest one. They of course obviously have a pipeline of products long down the road that they know that they want to work on, but
Yeah.
it still comes down to Jobs, okaying this one and not okaying that one. And is there someone else, if and when he leaves, is there someone else who can do that? We'll see. I mean, that's the big X factor in all of that. But generally, I think that they have, the best infrastructure, it seems like, between not only Jobs, but Tim Cook, who, is the COO, who does, like, all the Apple earnings calls and everything. I mean, he's on top of that stuff. He runs that thing, it seems like the
You
best.
believe that?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
the best well-oiled ship that is imaginable. I mean, they know exactly what inventory they need. I know that they haven't had enough iPads or whatever to sell, but I'm sure that that's, on purpose. They do that. Just like we're talking about Google Plus.
Plus.
Yeah. I think that they're set for a long time.
So we're taking questions from the audience tonight from our Startup Grind iOS app. If you've got an iPod, iPhone, or iPad, if you came in late, you can ask questions. I'm looking at them now. We got to get to emails. But what's your favorite or one of your favorite new products, hardware app, devices, et cetera, in the last 6 months? This is from Ted Gettin. Where are you? Raise your hand, Ted. Thank you. Okay.
Ted, favorite new product or piece of hardware or software, hardware, anything?
Just anything. App.
Let's see. What have I been using a lot recently? cheating. The cheating answer would be to say the new MacBook Air. I mean, that's That's the thing that I use all the time. That's my main go-to computer. I have totally replaced my MacBook Pro, which I did, at the point last year when they came out. The new MacBook Air came out. But I use that thing all the time. Between that and the iPhone and the iPad, everything Apple. Just fill in the blank with Apple.
How long do you think it'll take, or do you think you'll eventually go to just tablet?
Yeah, I think about this a lot when I do, stop blogging. What happens? Do I need the computer with me there at all times to keep writing? When I went on vacation a few months ago, I really only used the iPad, and that was great. I mean, I didn't have to. I wasn't responding to emails, and I wasn't blogging anything, so I didn't need to write anything. The iPad's still not good for, of course, if you need to write something longer, you can do short little things here and there. But if I didn't have to write, I would use the iPad pretty much all the time. Yeah.
Another question: when does Apple ship a TV?
Yeah, this is
Bernie. Where you at, Bernie? Okay.
Nice. I like that one because this kind of is really a split down the middle among the Apple fanboy community. It seems like, of which I'm of course a member. I would say that yes, they're going to, just for the fact that it seems so much in need that we need something to really disrupt that entire thing. There were the numbers that came out today of the Google Plus sales for the Google TV sales for the Logitech review unit, and it somehow managed to get more returns than it actually sold. So that obviously didn't do the trick I think that Google was hoping for, and they'll keep trying, I'm sure.
Well, they're already sold in, right? So
yeah,
they're sold in the channel.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, the Apple TV, the $99 version, is a pretty good product, but they don't have nearly the television content that they need right now. And overall, it still has to go through your TV, and most people are still running the TV through a cable box. And cable boxes have the most god-awful user interfaces.
Yeah.
And they've been the same, for a decade now. They're all those shitty Scientific America or whatever it is who makes those cable boxes. And Motorola makes a few. They're awful. They're so bad. And Apple just needs to do an all-in-one TV and really nail the user interface. The problem is, of course, working with the cable companies and getting them to get in line to work with them and push all this content through a nice interface.
And lose their margin on
And
the
lose their
boxes.
margin, yeah. But if anyone could do it, the only person that could do it would be Steve Jobs at Apple, would just somehow, magically woo them.
What about those other Apple guys we were talking about earlier? You think?
I don't know. I don't know what their negotiating skills are like, but I think they're the only company that could potentially do something like that.
So I want to ask you about a couple of random products, and
Sure.
give me a just quick. Give me an odds of percentage. Like, I think, as an example, I think Startup Grind has a 10% chance of being very successful, or
Okay.
whatever. That's an example for it.
Okay, so you want me to give a percentage?
Yeah, give me a
Okay.
percentage, and it's different, right? So the first one is Google Plus. So what do you think the chances are that they're extremely successful, which would be competing with Facebook?
I would say 30%.
Okay. What about Quora?
Competing with who, or just being extremely successful?
Yeah.
I would give that more like 60%.
What about 8-bit?
25%.
Who knows who 8-bit is? Okay. You wrote that. You broke them, right?
Yeah.
Zarly?
I would say 50-50.
Gowalla?
Probably 30%.
About Kevin Rose's new company, Milk?
Well, they're doing a few different things, which they're, I guess, not talking about yet.
Or are they?
Or are they? Or do I know something that I can reveal?
Exclusive caps. Startup Grind.
Overall, the company being successful, at least one of the things that they're doing working, I would say 80%.
GroupMe?
75%.
Okay. These are a couple of questions we like to ask our speakers. And they kind of run the gamut as well. If you're a first-time entrepreneur, which you're not, but would you apply to incubators like Y Combinator and some of these other incubators?
Yeah, now that they're giving away the free money, why not? Yeah.
What about the ones that aren't?
I think that they're all, obviously it's, on a case-by-case basis, what you need, where you're coming from. But in general, yes, I would say that I think those things are definitely really, really helpful to entrepreneurs. Just the network alone is helpful. Yes.
What about events like TechCrunch Disrupt or Launch or some of these other ones?
Applying to it?
No, actually, yeah, like applying to it or actually doing it
Or
if you get
or
accepted.
going to it? Yes, 100%. Those are.
No, no, but come on. So I mean, so the
Yeah, I think TechCrunch, the conference, which has evolved in names. Now it's Disrupt. It was 40 and then 50, and now it's
Yeah.
Disrupt. I think that it has a very good track record in terms of the companies that have come out of it. There's things, of course, like the big one was Mint, that one that.
they didn't
one-
launch there, right? I mean, they had
They
launched 6 months
they
before.
had launched previously. Yeah, there's Yammer. There's some other things
Yammer's
that
a
have come
great
out of
one.
there.
Yeah.
I think that the track record's pretty good of it. There's certainly been quite a few misses. There have to be more misses than hits, but I think there've been some pretty good, significant hits out of it. And I think those conferences are good to launch at because it puts you on a stage in front of pretty much all of the tech press that you want to, be able to reach out to and really understand your product. So they're sitting there front and center, and you know that they're listening, unless they're playing on their iPhone, which they probably are most of the time. But they're at least half listening, and if they'll perk up if they hear like a keyword, or if they hear applause or something. And so I think that it is good to launch at those things. Yes.
This is a little bit off these, but I got somebody asking about Windows Mobile and Nokia. Who's that? Yeah, what do you want to know about Windows Mobile? This is curious. Just anything? Windows Mobile. How many? We did this at the beginning. I don't know if you were here, but how many people have a Windows Mobile device? Anybody? Yeah.
One.
PG in the back.
Sweet.
In the cheap seats. Well, there you go. That's an endorsement.
I wrote that. I do like Windows Phone 7 Series, 7, 8, like the awful name that they gave it at first. I do like Windows Phone product, though. I had a unit for a while. This obviously is a very unpopular thing to say, but I like it more than I like Android. Android to me just feels like a cheap knockoff of the iPhone. Windows Phone seems like they're trying to do something legitimately different with the tile interface, with everything. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
No. Were you gonna?
I was just going to say, what do you think? But Android's been widely successful, right? So maybe
Yeah.
Windows should have just knocked off iPhone.
Well, Android's been really successful at the time of. Yes, no doubt about that, and that was a good strategy. The other interesting part of that, though, is like part of them becoming so successful is that they killed Windows Mobile.
They took their strategy, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, we can get into that if you really want, but
Not really.
But they did. I mean, they killed Windows Mobile. They basically took over what Windows Mobile had been doing, so well, which is working with all the different OEMs, which Apple was never going to do, of course. So they just kind of slid into that market and really blew it out of the water with that. And I'm sure Microsoft was very pissed off about that, and now they came back with this. We'll see what happens with the Nokia deal. That'll be really interesting if they can get any traction. Of course, Nokia has not done well getting traction here in the smartphone in the United States in the smartphone race, but maybe the combined entity of the two of them working together will do something.
Bhavik, where are you at? What should we? Thank you for the question. We look forward. What should we look forward to seeing at this year's Disrupt, or the September Disrupt?
The September Disrupt.
Yeah, September.
I'm not really sure yet. I think that we announced some speakers the other day, but in terms of companies, I haven't seen any of them yet. We're starting to go through the submissions right now internally, but yeah, we won't. Nothing really to share there besides it will be awesome. And interestingly enough, I know I should know more about this, but we're going to try and do one the following month in China.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really interesting if we can pull that off.
Is that an exclusive?
That's exclusive, yes.
Sweet.
No, it's out there.
Is it out there?
Yeah.
So if you were a first-time entrepreneur, based on the entrepreneurs that you see, would you bootstrap your company and build a product, or would you try and go raise money and build a product later?
Again, it's a case-by-case basis. Right now is a weird time for that because there's so much money flowing around out there that it's easier probably than it's been in a long time to raise money if you wanted to do that. But if you can bootstrap it, I mean, why not do that? Even TechCrunch did that. I mean, TechCrunch got offered to raise money a lot of times and never did. And when the sale happened to AOL, everyone benefited because of that. There was no VC that owned a quarter to 40% or whatever of the company. And there's other success stories like that. If you can afford to do that and really kind of pay your own way somehow, if you're making revenue right off the bat, then yeah, do that.
Would you, besides TechCrunch, if you're a first-time entrepreneur, which blogs would you read every week? And ParisLemon.com.
Yes.
Shameless pitch.
Yes, that's the one I would read. I would.
Who reads parrotslemon.com? Do we have anybody? I do. No? Okay.
It's
Sorry,
just
dude.
it's TechCrunch with more swearing. That's all. I'm obviously partial to VentureBeat still.
Yep.
I like them. I still like all the things that the Bits blog does for New York Times. I think that they do a lot of good things, and they get a fair number of exclusives there too. So a lot of the Mac blogs that I read now are really good. Of course, I read Daring Fireball. I like the MacStories.net. I don't know if anyone's been reading that. They're pretty good, those guys. 9 to 5 Mac has done a good job of breaking a lot of Apple stuff recently because a few of those guys are really good at digging into that code, which is technically breaking the NDA, but Apple didn't seem to care about that for whatever reason. But they're really good at digging into some of that stuff and getting scoops as a result. So, but there's a lot of things out there that are still really good.
If you were a first-time entrepreneur, and based on those that you've seen, if you were trying to get your start going as much as you possibly could, but you weren't getting any traction, you weren't getting any press, no one would write about you, you weren't getting user traction,
right?
What would you do?
Quit. That's what I heard in the front row. No, don't quit. Just you gotta just keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. People ask how'd they get in touch with me? I mean, if I blow people off, yes, in some ways I'm sure I seem like an asshole, but it's really not me being an asshole. It's just because of the volume. I can't possibly respond to everything and expect to get anything done throughout the day. I don't have a secretary or anything who can help me offload some of that work. So really, just keep pounding away, and that's what you got to do. If you find someone that you want to write about what you're doing, and if you, I would say really kind of focus in on one or a handful of people that you think will cover what it is you're doing really well. You've read their previous coverage, that they know whatever space you're in, and so focus on those people and just try and ping them through every means necessary, not just email, preferably not email, other ways, but just hammer away.
Yeah, so we'll close up here, but you talked about almost a month ago, right, about kind of abandoning email.
Right.
Who saw that story? Did anyone see that story? Yeah, so you swore off email. Do you respond to emails from your mom or from your family or from anyone?
I have not responded to an email from my mom. I have responded to a few emails here and there. Like I said in the post, I had some things that I had to respond to from previous things. You and I have emailed.
Well, I wasn't going to call it out.
Yeah, but we did. Generally, though, no, I haven't responded to emails, and it's been awesome. I'll do a full write up after the month is over of my findings of this, my very scientific findings. But it'll basically be one word, which is awesome. And it's obviously something that not everyone can do, but if you can figure out some way to do it and route your interactions with people through another mechanism, I highly recommend it. It's not just that email is so much volume, that's obviously the main thing, but there's other little things about it. It's just in general, it's too slow. I mean, there's all these things, you gotta fill in who you're sending it to, you gotta fill in a subject line, you gotta fill in, you're stuck with all these formalities that people are used to, typing thank you, comma, typing, all these silly little things.
Pleasantries.
All these pleasantries. Just tell me what you want.
One more question from the app. What do you think the next big sector will be for startups, or what do you see as emerging as something that's interesting?
I think that, and I don't know how fast it's going to come, but I think that there's going to be a lot of really interesting things that come around all the NFC technology that's going to be built in phones. It's already in Nexus S, of course, and I think a couple other Android phones. There's rumors that it might be in the iPhone 5. I don't know if that's true or not. But eventually it will be in, or some similar technology. And I think that there's a lot of cool things. Everyone talks about the payment aspect of it, which of course the big guys will, end up handling, or someone will come in and do that. But I think that there's a lot of other cool things that people can do. There's NFC is not just about the payments. It's all short form transfers of data between devices and whatnot. I think there's a lot of cool things that people are going to do that kind of merge the mobile world that we know right now more into the real world.
Can we give MG a round of applause? Really awesome.